Hello friends, this is Christian Wiese. Today I wanted to talk to you about the wisdom of the dark night of the soul. Let me start with an example. So there is that spiritual seeker who writes, meditates, listens to other speakers and mostly does pretty well and feels pretty connected. But then come full moon, a friend calls and he goes out with them and he drinks a little bit too much and perhaps does things that normally as a spiritual person he wouldn't. And then the next morning every organ is complaining and he feels miserable. But perhaps after an extra couple of hours of sleep, perhaps even the same day or maybe the next day, suddenly again he feels the energy rising and in a sense a new cycle is starting for him, and soon that dark night of the soul episode, as he calls it, is a distant memory. So first of all, I don't want to minimize that experience. I have gone through it. It's painful, and all it does is tells us that there is still something within that is not healed, that there's still something within that is not quite authentic, and all it says is we still have to dig a little bit deeper. As a matter of fact, as a side note, it's not the main presentation, but as a side note, a book for anybody who struggles with that dark night of the soul, Letting Go, Release Your Suffering by Suzhen is a book that I put out together with a friend to really help people. It is really amazing. So if you feel you suffer with something, check it out and see if it can help you. But what I really wanted to talk to you is about something else. I wanted to talk to you about perhaps seeing the entire week as spiritual and not to fall for duality and say, well, the first 3 weeks I was indeed spiritual. Had it not been for the downfall on the full moon, I would have been perfect. No, that's not it. We should really see the entire period as just us living with some spiritual moments, with some self-inflicted pain, and without judging anything, even looking perhaps for the wisdom in the dark night of the soul experience. I want to give you an example. So there was a mystic Gordichev who argued that we are nothing but bio-robots and that we can awaken to those inner mechanisms. And he was a little bit out there when it came to his techniques. For example, sometimes he had his followers get completely drunk, ask them to walk in a circle or to dance, and then he would just shout out certain expressions or phrases or words that were meaningful to each person. So for example, there was a guy who was working in the circle, perhaps strutting a little bit, and he shouted out, "Cuckoo!" And that guy just fell on the floor laughing. And in a sense, it was a beautiful experience because he kind of told him, look, you're so arrogant, you're so full of yourself, it's all a facade. And had he done that on a sober day, perhaps the message wouldn't have landed so well. But because of the alcohol, all that protection that the intellect would have built just disappeared. So maybe he had a major breakthrough because of the alcohol. So once again, I do not want you to go out now tonight and get drunk in order to be spiritual. That's not what I want at all. what I want to say is, please see the entire phase as just one recycling of energy, one cycle. Understand the cycle. It's always you, always you. The growth phase, when you feel, oh, the energies are returning, I am spiritual, I'm so connected, there's maybe still something that's a little bit off. Maybe there's still a little bit of a spiritual intellect, which makes you feel good, but it's not the real thing. So in a sense, it's a build-up for the day, and when the full moon comes, that tells you, look, you're still not authentic enough. So if you have a look at the entire 28 days and see every moment as is, without any judgment, without any aspiration, with just seeing as is, then in a sense you're not building up that negative energy that at one point tells you, look, my friend, you are just not authentic. A friend coined this description of the dark night of the soul experience: purge, align, rinse, repeat. When I read that, I thought it was so beautiful, because it really captures, look, stop judging. This is just purge, align, rinse, repeat. And don't do this forever. Don't go to therapy for the next 7 years. No, just put yourself in a position to understand the energy that is always happening. The self interacting with the higher self, without projecting, but rather with experiencing what that higher self is all about. So that's really my message. There is a wisdom of the dark night of the soul. There is, of course, a little bit of work, whether it's therapy or working with a healer, or reading the book that I mentioned, Letting Go, Release Your Suffering. That is part of it, but once again, it's also part to understand that every day, every moment is spiritual. Every day and every moment is self. It's always the two energies intersecting. Step away from the duality, step away from the judging. Just see the moment as is. All right, I hope you found that helpful. All the best. Bye.